Welcome to the Podcasting Podcast, where I podcast about podcasting. My name is Cameron Edward Benton, and I am the host of this podcast and the Getting to Know You podcast on the same channel. Make sure to go check it out. Hit like and subscribe if you like these things, and leave comments because I would really love your feedback on this. So I just recently signed up for this ADHD course for entrepreneurs for productivity. It's by this guy. You've probably seen these ads on Instagram if you're an ADHD with an entrepreneur because he's got a lot of his stuff. It's like Next Level Systems, I think, on Instagram. And I signed up for it, signed up for a couple other things, and took the course and went through it and wanted to share some of the insights that I had and whether I thought it was worth it. And share it with you guys. So the first thing that really came through for me in this that stuck out the most was one of the things that he kind of said near the end of the video. And that is, number one, the most important productivity thing that I can do as a ADHD person is to not beat myself up. And that really resonated with me as somebody who is very success driven, who can be very hard on myself, who can want to be pushing myself, who looks up to people like Alex Ramosi and other people who like drive and do a lot, or even people like Tim Ferriss who accomplish so much. There's people who they've accomplished so much with their life, and I can have high and unreasonable standards sometimes and go way above and beyond. It's just very easy to beat myself up, and I've beaten the crap out of myself before, and I can even feel a lot of shame for that. And so then I beat myself up or beat myself up. If you've ever been there, let me know. And I think there was just something really freeing about hearing that from him, who, as somebody with ADHD, because our brains are different than Alex Ramosi's and other people's, and learning how to work with my brain, understanding that like I am going to be harsher on myself for different reasons, or things can feel like a failure because most of the things out there won't really work for me. And instead of blaming myself, blaming my environment, my systems, these things that I can control and change and are not personal. They're not tied to my identity. They're just like, hey, the systems that I built up for myself right now are not working or supporting me for the things that I want to do. Or I have an unrealistic expectation, or I need to just shift things in a way that like makes me feel good and aligned for those things. And I think that's a pretty profound shift for me, because when I realize that I can change the systems, when I can change the productivity, and it's not me, it's not a personal failure, I'm not bad, then those are things that I can actually do something with. And it also helps breed a lot more kindness for myself and like reminding myself about that. I'm going to be putting Post-it notes up in my apartment to just remind myself to be kind, be considerate, be passionate, to work with who I am and what I am. The second main takeaway was declutter and eliminate things. One of the things that he really hits on early on is just the importance of eliminating the things that are in our life that are not supportive towards the goals that we are actually wanting to achieve. So this can look like, he literally helps you guide through and like declutter your entire phone. And that was really powerful. I can even show you my phone right now. Like this is my new home screen. That's it. So, and you can even see like, I don't have a messaging app down here anymore. I can scroll, that's the wrong way. But yeah, that's my second page, which is just, my screen time. Screen time. And then I have like a couple of diet apps. I have the school app, We're Going to Learn Things. I have my Aura Ring things. And I have this new app that I'm going to try for like rejection therapy stuff. And then I have Slack and my work stuff and my messages. And then after that, I finally have a couple of social media things that I might want to check every now and then, because I get a lot of social media messages on Snapchat with my friends. Or, want to check out the Instagram or YouTube or how those things are doing. Probably going to add Threads into there and X just so I can have that all in one spot. But like not having that in the forefront, not having this clutter up front for one, and then being very intentional about having those things, even messages several pages down, so that I can have a barrier between the things that have a natural impulse of like sucking my attention, can pull me into being responsive right away. Because part of the way that an ADHD brain works is that we want to respond to things immediately when they're in our attention field. And not doing that is tricky, because even if I get the notification and I don't respond to it, it's then sitting in my mind for a while. So turning off almost all of my notifications, moving everything off of the app. And you can see I have like one more page for games. And then it's just all the actual apps in the back end, and everything else is just searched for. And that in itself has been really great. I've been doing a lot of other getting rid of things like with Instagram, deleting followers, cleaning things out of my cabinets, creating a lot more space in my physical environment has been really big as well. And that I would say would be one of the third takeaways would be the importance of your environment. So your physical environment, because really realizing that productivity is getting things out of the way of the things that you want to be doing, right? So a very unproductive way of cooking is to have to search for the things that you need to use to cook, right? Or having to clean right before you're cooking and trying to do a bunch of things all at once, and like you can't find the pot, you don't know where you put the butter, you didn't put all the things out in the right order, right? And so you're doing this, and so you're going back and forth a bunch, and that's very unproductive because you could just like have the things laid out in a simple way and you know step by step what you're going to do. And that's actually going to be a much more productive way of doing it because you're going from like just A to Z instead of going to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like doing all these little steps in between. You can just go A to Z and do those things right there. If that makes any sense. Just going back to my notes. I think another big one was just he really emphasizes the importance of using Google Calendar as your main and really only productivity system. And I found this really fascinating because, I'm somebody who's used Nosby before, and that was like really effective for me. I've used other things alongside with Google Calendar and things to integrate, but I've never done something just like on just Google Calendar on its own. And it was really cool to see the various like tasks features that are interwoven and within it. And this kind of pivots to, I think, a really, really good point that I wanted to get into with this, which is the importance of one single message that he says, which is do it now or schedule it. And I thought this is a really profound shift for me because I can see how often I think about something and then I just maybe write it down or I think about it in the back of my head and I have all of these things in the back of my head that I'm not doing. And I'm finding it better to just be like, okay, do the thing now, like take the photo, do the thing, post the video, just be with it, especially if you have the time. I think where I'm struggling with it though is the kind of or scheduling it part, because what I'm realizing is I generate so many ideas and then I also have like a backlog of so many ideas and tasks and things to do that it's almost overwhelming the amount of things. And then I'm like, well, if I just schedule these, like, I think where I'm struggling is like what to really prioritize. And I do think he does a lot of help with the prioritizing by kind of like, I'd say one of my favorite things is he puts like, you put your goals at the top of your calendar and kind of like the all day section. And that's really nice to be kind of reminded of that because that has helped me like remind myself of what my priorities are. And at the same time, with something like building a podcast or building a business, like there's so many things to do because you're doing things that are daily and you can have multiple bottlenecks. And maybe it's about figuring out what those things are, but it's also you have like the bottlenecks, but then you have like the day-to-day things that you have to do in the same way that you have to like brush your teeth every day. Even if you're focused on a project, you still have to take care of yourself in other ways. You can't just stop eating. I mean, you could fast intentionally, but like you have to do these other pieces. So I'm not quite sure about that. And I still have a little bit of anxiety around that. And if that's something that you deal with as somebody who has ADHD and is an entrepreneur, or is like somebody who wants to be more productive, I would love your thoughts on how you handle some of that. How you go about prioritizing what tasks when you have, a couple of different goals, or how do you find ways of like synergizing these things? Like the three main things in my life right now are, the money that I want to make with my consulting business, which I'm close to getting as more like a time and I think working itself out thing. And then the other part is growing my YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers. And then the third thing is like dating, sex, relationships. All of those I have like more specifically dialed in now, which has been great. And when I like go to sit down and schedule things, it's like, okay, like what am I doing? When am I doing them? Why am I doing them? And then immediately I can feel my body start to kind of freeze and tense up. So that's still an area that I want to, but because this is in the school community, I'm going to be actually like reaching out to the school community in there and finding out advice. And I'm sure that I'm not the first person to deal with it. And there's something cool about even just being surrounded by other ADHD entrepreneurs who have gotten a lot out of this program, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So if you have any other thoughts, please leave a comment below. If you made it this far, hit like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Ciao.